Hello, and welcome to the Future Proof Podcast. This is our bi-monthly podcast where we chat about stuff we're working on and anything cool we're planning. I'm Melissa Avery Weir.
And I'm Gregory Avery Weir. And Melissa, you had a bit of fun on one of our friends' Twitch channels lately.
I did. Our friend Jim Ryan, also known as Other Doc, ran a paranormal spy thriller mini campaign. It took us 3 sessions.
The Top of the World.
Yes, called Top of the World. It was 3 sessions long, and it used Rosette Diceless. It was phenomenal.
It was super cool watching and seeing like people playing our system that weren't us, right? Like we've been involved in virtually every game of Rosette Diceless we've played. And seeing people use it and like understand the system and be excited by rules in it was super cool. But I didn't get to play in it. You're the one that was on camera.
Yes, and it was delightful. I've only streamed stuff maybe 2 other times, I think both on Jim's channel. I was very nervous, especially because all the other players are streamers themselves, like streamers of tabletop role-playing games. So I felt a little bit like a rookie, but it was phenomenal. Jim did great pre-gen characters for it, and one of the players built their own. Did a great job there. Folks really seemed to get the system. You know, there's always a little bit of like, you know, how does conflict work? Like you have to learn the system a little bit, but they seem to get the gist of what was happening and how play flowed and kind of where the strategic components were. And these people have played a lot of systems since it's, you know, their job to one degree or another. So it was awesome. They seem to like the system a lot, which is, you know, very cool to hear. And I think we made something good. Like, I mean, I don't just mean Rosette Diceless. I mean, I think the game was good. That it was a good spy story. With some fun twists. The paranormal, supernatural element was distinct and weird and very good. So I will be linking to the archives of that in the show notes, which I don't know if they'll be on YouTube at that point, but they'll definitely be on Twitch. So I look forward to that.
For sure.
We've also been, as we've talked about before, doing a little bit of work on Exploit Zero Day. And Greg has been doing some design work for a new kind of something to enhance the puzzles of EZD.
Yeah, so we haven't really added like huge new design aspects to the game for a very long time. Like we've been very focused on polishing and getting story out, but we've had stuff bouncing around for a bit that is new node types. So Exploit Zero Day, the puzzles are a bunch of nodes on a grid, different little things that do different stuff when you hit them with packets as part of the puzzle. And we, for a while, we will occasionally get requests that are like, hey, it would be cool if there was a node that did X, you know, or it would be nice if there's a way to do this. And some of those, I mean, there are some nodes in the game right now in Exploit Zero Day that were not in the original exploit, and that's sort of part of that design process and that iteration and that expansion. But we sort of sat down and were like, okay, what are the types of nodes that we'd like to have and that would actually be interesting to play with and also like still make the creation of puzzles kind of interesting and require creativity and have constraints around it, right? Because like we could just say program the behavior of a puzzle with JavaScript, but we're not. we're making a specific kind of game. So figuring out where we wanted stuff to be available was really cool. And so we've got a work in progress sketch of kind of like our intentions. This might change by the time it gets implemented way down the road. But we've got ideas that are based around this idea of corrupted nodes. So if folks have played Super Mario Maker, they will know that if you pick up a type of block and like shake it, you can get a different form of that block. And that's sort of the idea we're going with here, where each node type has a corresponding corrupted node. And so the existing, what are they called? Sensors and semaphores that are the flat blue and yellow nodes that are the equivalent of the flip-flops and buffers. Those flat versions are going to become corrupted versions of the non-flat versions. And then we're
Right.
going to add a bunch of other things. We've got ideas for a node that lets one packet through and then turns into a blocker. We've got ones that only allow packets through vertically or horizontally. We've got an idea for one that kind of alternates between being a block and being not a block, kind of like the latch node, the teal cylinder that we have currently. And a lot of these are just based on like, what are places where we've made systems or we've seen other people make systems and they've had to like do something a little too complicated to do like a common task. So that
Right.
the what do we call, I think we call it the one-time pass node that is
Classic.
the let one packet through and then it turns into a blocker. That's the like one of the things that we feel like we do the most, right? There's all sorts of places in puzzles where you want to like let one packet through to cycle around in an area, but they shouldn't be able to add more or it would swamp the mechanics of the system. So all of them have sort of that feel. I'm excited to do it, but it will be a while. Like these plans might change.
Right. And this is in our sort of beta set, I think, instead of, our alpha. So there's that, but we also have Headless Swarm and things like that. But yes, it's on the docket. I'm excited. I think, there are these places where it will take us anywhere between 2 and 5 nodes to produce the pattern at hand if you're doing it, without these corrupted nodes. And to have it be one node will be cool. And we get to build a tutorial around it. So
Yeah.
otherwise it'll be like, here's 20 kinds of things you can drop on this puzzle. Welcome, new player. Just a little, that'd be a lot. So yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And we're I guess we're sort of focusing on new players a bit because we've gotten a request as part of some of our Rosette Diceless promotion stuff that we've been doing that is something that I think we want to do that we have not provided to players before.
Yeah, so someone requested example characters in a clearer way than we've provided in the past. So we do have, I think, 2 or 3 example characters on the Rosette Diceless site now, but they're like scanned in pencil or pen versions of our character sheets from our home game,
Yeah.
which were pre-pandemic, so they were on paper, handwritten.
Mm-hmm.
So now, 1, we have digital versions of those because we've been playing virtually. 2, we have other examples of characters so that people don't need to like listen to, Tabletop Garden and then deconstruct what the characters were there. So we're going to provide example sci-fi and fantasy and I don't know that we've...
Normal.
Normal?
Mundane.
Yes,
I mean,
mundane.
the Tabletop Garden characters were non-fantasy.
So we'll be providing those in some sort of nicely organized fashion so that folks can see what starting characters and not necessarily even starting characters look like. I don't think I could reliably reproduce my, 5-year-old home game characters' original stats for one that was a few versions of the system ago. And we used to, our attribute values were different at that point. And for another, it is interesting to see, what happens in character growth. Like, do you keep adding superlative traits? Do you, how do you fit it all on a sheet or 2 sheets? So we'll be providing those soon. So stay tuned on Twitter and our blog and newsletter and the next episode of this for links to that. And then we have one final little baby that we're working on that Greg has been working on. Odd Bug Report came in.
Yeah, so our first release as Future Proof Games, our first commercial release was Ossuary, our cool, I don't know, horror comedy Discordian underworld game. It's an adventure game where all the inventory items are vices that you're manipulating people with. And we got a report on Steam, I think, that was, hey, when I move diagonally, things really lag. And we were able to reproduce it. And it's one of those weird ones where it's like nothing has changed in Ossuary, right?
No, it's been
like,
years.
We haven't done anything to it other than I think our latest update was like, oh, we need to replace an expired security certificate.
Right, and maybe something for 64-bit Mac, which actually might have just been checking a box inside of Steam. I don't remember.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like, we're not sure right now whether it's maybe this is an issue that's always been there and it's more obvious because computers are faster now, maybe, or what maybe this is a thing that just some weird change in compatibility. But that's a thing we're gonna have to dive into, and it's interesting how like developers have an idiom they use. We say that there's something called bit rot.
Yes.
Which is that programs and data somehow like gets worse over time if you don't maintain it. And it's kind of true. Like theoretically, if you got a computer from back then and used it, it would be fine. But just like a bunch of little minute changes in system architecture and speeds of processors and stuff can mean that new bugs appear, or things that you didn't realize were issues when you initially implemented it turn out to be ones, right? Like you can you can imagine like there might be a thing that's like something steadily gets worse over the course of the decade after you release a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so like year after year, maybe this bug continues to get worse and worse because there's some math being done poorly or something in your code. So that's a thing that I'm going to get to boot up Flash Develop, which it's been a while since I booted up my Flex ActionScript 3 development IDE and dive into some
Check that IDE for the Log4j vulnerability. Actually, it might be too old for that, actually.
I won't let anyone make external HTTP calls to my Flash IDE. It's funny because like this is one of the few places in which Flash, like I can code in AS3 and do Flash development and have it be deployable, right? Because Adobe Air is this weird like self-contained thing. But hopefully I can fix it. It may be that we end up going, yeah, I don't know, here's a workaround maybe, and sorry that it's kind of kludgy. But we'll see. Hopefully we can clean up that jankiness. It might be something simple. I mean, it really might be. The game developers will understand. It really might be that we like didn't adjust for time elapsed since the last update or something like that. And so there's some cycle running 10,000 times every second.
Right. My first thought was of the sort of classic uncapped frame rate situation that can happen with old games played on modern systems where it's like, oh no. Oh no. So yeah, hopefully it'll be something simple. It can hardly be something terribly complex, right?
Yeah, it'll either be simple or we will be completely stumped.
Right.
So we'll see.
On this decade-old game, I will say,
it's
actually it was 2013 when it came out, so not quite 10 years.
We're getting there though.
We are. So, along with Ossuary and everything else, you can find all of our stuff over at futureproofgames.com. We're over on Twitter at PlayFutureProof and on YouTube as Futureproof Games. Hit us up with any questions or comments you have, either over on the blog or on social media. And our theme music is Juparo by Broke for Free, which is used with permission.